what's up, cats and kittens, and shout out to all my Cerebralites. It is me, the Cerebral Diva, and I'm back with another episode of RealiTEA, and that's TEA because I give it to you scalding hot. So people, grab your cups, grab your saucers, gather around, and let's all partake in this libation of basketball wives tea. But before you go another further, do yourself a favor, and while you're at it, please do me a solid. Take a second to hit that subscribe button, and once you've done that, take another second to hit that tiny little bell so you can turn on your alerts, and that way you will be kept in the loop. Now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, let's talk about what we're here to talk about, and that is Basketball Wives LA. Now, first of all, before I get into this review of Basketball Wives LA Season 6, Episode 8, let me say, I know that I am not consistent by any way, shape, or form, and I apologize to you guys for that, but you have to understand that real life is happening in real time. So it means that I won't be able to be as consistent as I would like to be, but I'm definitely going to try to make the time to come here and talk to you guys whenever I possibly can. But sometimes, I'm a small business owner. I have a lot of different things on my plate, so it doesn't really allow me the time that I would like to focus on this as much as I would like to. But I'll do what I can when I can. Okay, so with that being said, so I finally had a chance to catch up with Basketball Wives LA, and I'm going to forego going back and just talk about the most recent episode, which was episode 8. In this episode, they finally did something that I've been waiting for them to do, and that is to call Jackie out on her malaprops. This lady, she drives me crazy. As a woman of color, it drives me crazy listening to her speak. Now, I try not to be one of those people. You know how some people are sort of like English Nazis, where they go through and pick out every single imperfection that a person does? I try not to be one of those people. But at the same time, there are certain people who are so egregious in their mutilation of the English language that it drives me berserk. And Jackie is one of those people. So Jackie, since season 1 of Basketball Wives LA and on through season 6, she has not deviated once, or it never has it done. I've seen her try to start, vodka or whatever liquor line she's trying to start. I've seen her try to start clothing lines, but never has it dawned on this lady to maybe I should get an English or an elocution coach to help me become more polished if I'm going to be on national TV. But once again, being Jackie that she is, she's been using the word ponderosa in lieu of the actual word powwow for meaning to conference, meaning, she keeps saying ponderosa, let's ponderosa. And so I'm sitting there, and it's like nails across the chalkboard for me every time she uses the word ponderosa. And so Evelyn, I believe it was, just finally said she's an idiot. And while I don't want to qualify her as an idiot, because the woman's on TV, she's making more money than I do, so clearly she's not an idiot to some degree, because she's making the most of the platform that she's been given. But in terms of her use of the English language, she definitely needs to go back to school. When I watch her on TV, right, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, how did Doug wind up with Jackie? How did this happen? Like, I just don't see, like, Jackie has to be, we all know that she's a freak. She must be amazing in bed. I mean, amazing to the degree that Doug is just like, I don't care how dumb she sounds. I don't care how ridiculous she looks. She sucks a mean, whatever. But I also picture Doug. Doug is, I think, moving into coaching now. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, when he's dealing with team owners and, franchise owners and what have you, and, trying to make moves as a business person in athletics, and, a lot of times that schmoozing is involved, and you want to bring your wife, your partner, whomever with you on these outings so that they can sort of ingratiate you into that world. I picture him sitting at the table with Jackie, digging his nails into her thigh, pinching her, and maybe even having a preemptive talk with her before they go to the dinner, saying, look, let me do the talking. Don't say a word. You just sit there, okay? I'll handle this. I just need your presence and nothing more. Don't add anything to the conversation other than a yes or a no. If they ask you anything, any questions, please defer to me. And that's the only possible way that I can see. Or maybe Doug is just more... He's more, what's the word I'm looking for? maybe he's just more enlightened, and he's one of those guys who just doesn't care. I mean, he loves Jackie for who she is, and he accepts her in Beyonce's words, flaws and all, and he just doesn't really care about the fact that she does not seem to have a firm grasp of the English language. And if that's what the relationship is, then so be it. But I'm just glad that they finally called her out, because it's just bad listening to her. As a woman of color, I think when I hear her on TV speaking that way, it makes me wonder, I wonder if white people watching this show think that all of us speak as poorly as she does. Anyhow, moving on from Jackie, I want to talk a little bit about Kristen. Now, one of the things, I have sort of this love-hate affinity for Kristen. And part of the reason why is because I think Kristen has mastered playing the victim role. Now, I'm not saying that she's not the victim in some situations, in particular the situation where she was ambushed with the makeover, but when she's calling Tammy and Evelyn and Jackie old and outdated and perished, if you will, that frustrates me because I'm not really a fan of ageism, and I hate the fact that people treat women like women have an expiration date. Like once you reach 40, then look, it's over. That you may as well just go somewhere and prepare to die. Go convalesce somewhere. And it bothers me when these young girls, because without Jackie, without Evelyn, without Shawnee, and a lot of these other women who are on the show, who are mainstays, who are staples, these are the reason people, if they took Evelyn and Jackie and Tammy and Shawnee off the show, Kristen, you would be sitting at home, doing arts and crafts with your kids. So I don't understand how they don't make the association with, these women are actually the ones who paved the way for you to be on reality television. So without them, without these quote unquote old bitches, then you wouldn't have a place to have a platform. So it just frustrates me. And so that's when I say maybe she's not as sort of sweet and syrupy as people think that she is, because that was pretty malignant of her, in my opinion. And it wasn't like she made some benign comment where she was just like, these old, there's nothing kind and warm about a statement like that. That statement is clearly saying to me that move out of the way because I need the space that you're in to make space for me. So when she's going on and on about being the victim in these situations, so now she's at odds with Jackie. Kristen is at odds with Jackie because there's this debate over Kristen whether she had a miscarriage or whether she had an abortion. And I don't even think that this is a conversation that needs to be had on reality television. And maybe I'm just a prude in that way, but I think that when you sign up for reality television, you have to set parameters. There are certain things that I don't care, even though it's reality television, that you keep for yourself. And losing a child, whether it's through abortion or whether it's through a miscarriage, I think that you're welcome to talk about those things. But when the nature of which the child was lost is being debated, I really think it does a disservice to women. It does a disservice to the child who is no longer with us. And I just don't think that it's really appropriate to have that conversation on television. But that's just me. But I think that some people are desperate to make their mark, and they'll talk about whatever to whomever as long as it sort of pushes their agenda. So Jackie has this body image party, and Kristen is there, and she's supposed to confront Jackie about saying that she had an abortion versus having a miscarriage. And she sort of softly, it was a sort of soft confrontation where she didn't really, and look, don't be a punk. Don't be a punk. If you're going to be on reality TV, if you're going to, try to make your mark, and sort of push the old dames out of the way, then at least come in there in beast mode and make a mark that makes people say, oh, well, she's the new Tammy or she's the new whomever, because you're coming in there and feeding the people what they want to eat. But this sort of, timid thing that she's doing where she's, well, I don't, girl, if you didn't like what she said, if you had an issue with what she said, then have that conversation with her. Now, you don't even necessarily have to be aggressive and get rah-rah, what have you. You can actually just have a conversation and be matter of fact. Like, look, my business is my business. I don't appreciate you talking about that. For future reference, It's my vagina. It's my womb. I know what happened with it. If anyone has an issue with it or wants to know the details of that, and if I feel so inclined to share that information with them, please defer to me. You don't have, you can't tell my story better than I can tell my story. Have that conversation with her. But rather than have a grown woman conversation, she gets up, she runs out of the venue. And before I go to what happened outside of the venue, I just want to talk about a moment inside the venue with this sort of S&M themed body image party. I don't know how Jackie correlates S&M and bondage and debauchery to body image, but okay, who am I to judge? But there's a scene where there's a guy in there and he's wearing like a leather thong and he has a whip and he's sort of softly, tapping the guests, whipping the guests. Nothing extreme, but just sort of setting the ambient mood for the party. And he taps Tammy's talking to Evelyn, and really quick, I'm gonna go right back to that, I promise. This relationship, this sort of accelerated relationship between Tammy and Evelyn, I don't see it lasting. I just don't think that these two alpha females are going to be able to find commonality or common ground long term. And that this sort of instant bond, this instant chemistry that they formed, just it doesn't feel authentic to me. So back to the guy with the whip. So he's tapping the guest, and he walks over and he taps Tammy with the whip, and the look that Tammy gave, this man, I'm telling you. Please, someone out there, turn that into a meme. That moment will be forever etched in my consciousness, because Tammy was not here for any of it, and she made that abundantly clear. But I will give Tammy credit. She didn't do it in a way that you would expect Tammy to do it. She comported herself very well in that instance. So back to outside the party. So Kristen runs outside the party. Jackie goes out. All the women exit the party. Jackie's upset about everyone leaving her party, so she goes out there as well. She tells Kristen to come back. Don't be a punk. Don't run. Let's have this conversation. Kristen, true to Kristen, she leaves. And then something else that I thought was really interesting happened. Jackie, who's upset about what's happening outside of her party, decides that she's going to basically threaten the women, and she said, I'll beat everyone up. And that goes for all of you out there. Now there's Tammy's out there, Evelyn's out there, I believe Shawnee was there, Malaysia, pretty much everyone who's on the cast was out there, and not one woman took the bait, which was shocking to me. I didn't think that, maybe they didn't hear her in that moment, but I just didn't expect for the girls to let something like that ride, but apparently they did. So I don't know, I just found that really interesting, because all of them are so quick to pop off. You would expect like something like that to just be like the moment that they've been waiting for, but no one bit. So anyhow, that's pretty much all that happened on this episode. Now it's the next episode that looks like it's going to be really interesting, and I just want to say this really quickly about the next episode, which seems to be centered around Evelyn involving herself in Jackie Christie's relationship with her daughter. I think in this particular instance, Evelyn is 100% wrong. I think that giving the money to the daughter when the son was injured was a great deed. But the buck stops there. You give the money and you go about your business. Family business is family business. I'm not here to give Jackie a pass on anything that she's done. I don't know what that relationship was with her daughter, and neither does Evelyn. Whatever the dynamics are between Jackie and her daughter, you should, especially being a mother of a daughter, you should have the wherewithal to say, look, I need to back off. I need to mind my own business. You don't get yourself involved in people's family business. You stay out of it. Let them work through it. Because chances are, at some point in time, who knows, whether it's just through the process of growth emotionally, whether it's good, personal growth, or whether it's through therapy, or whether it's through some sort of tragedy, which can oftentimes bring people together and foster closeness. Chances are that Jackie and her daughter will reconcile at some point, and you will be forever vilified. So I think that Evelyn should just stay out of their business. Let them work through whatever issues that they have. They don't need a third party coming in. You are not Iyanla. You cannot fix their lives. And certainly you can't fix their lives by bringing more drama into it. I almost think that that's what they need to do. They need to bring Iyanla on Basketball Wives and make her a permanent cast member so that she can coach them. Let's get a little therapy sort of mixed in with all of the drama that we see here each week. But that's what's coming up next week, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I just wanted to add that little nugget to what's coming up on Basketball Wives. Having said that, I'm going to get ready to get out of here, you guys. What else is there? Yes. Oh, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and please share if you feel so inclined. Follow me across all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. And as always, in closing, people, remember to live better, love harder, and think smarter. It's me, the Cerebral Diva, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Have a fantastic day.